Evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2021 ANZCAR Abruzzi Cup Championship Series here on the SimShed Broadcasting Network. We are live here tonight, back at the Daytona circuit for the road course. It's going to be a very different circuit tonight, very different challenge indeed. Joining me up here in the booth is Dave Douglas. How are you going, Dave?
Good, Carl. Good evening, everybody. Same track, but different style. A few more turns in this one.
Exactly. It's going to have to be turning right for this one as well as left, which really does throw a few drivers out, doesn't it?
Absolutely. In sunny Florida by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's looking pretty warm out there. It's not the warmest of days, in all honesty. It's still late in the year, of course. Sorry, not late in the year, early in the year. That's the one. So not quite super hot temperatures, scorching road temperatures, of course. But it is it's definitely sunny, and that will mean the circuit is a little bit warmer than we expect. Not much cloud cover out there, is there?
No, definitely not. So the sun's out, which means that it's going to be quite slippery and hard on tyres as well. So it'll be good to see how this race progresses through the night, or through the day, I should say.
Yeah, that's it. It's a very different challenge, of course, on the road circuit. The tyres do take a good beating. We did see, of course, the cars out on this track for the clash earlier this season, a couple of weeks ago for the Daytona race itself. Of course, it was the first race of the series, and we saw some fantastic action out there. Foster taking the victory, of course, but Neil Pearson charging through the field, and he's the guy that's put it on pole tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember in that race was during the night too, so it'll be a bit of a different field today. But Pearson's carried that form over into the day. And he has put it on pole, but with a smaller field that night of the clash, it was about 12 cars, I think, but plenty of entertainment. So we got a full field of 43 cars, I believe, tonight. So stand back from the fences, folks.
Yeah, quite a few drivers out there, quite a few cars out there, which will make a big difference. Neil Pearson, though, he did stamp his mark on this session in qualifying by setting a lap time of a 1:52.59. The only person close to that was Michael Skurlock in second with a 1:52.7. So real close stuff for those two at the top. Next fastest was Chris Purnell with a 1:53.1. So there is a pretty tight field out there, but Pearson looks to have a good chance tonight.
Yeah, certainly, and obviously the top guys there are all the same from the clash, except this time they've got Purnell for company. So we know Purnell is a pretty well an expert on the road, and like I said earlier in the year, he can drop anything with wheels. So he'll be one to keep an eye on tonight as well. Yeah,
that's it. And we've seen Chris. He's got good road racing experience. He's got some good options. Some good experience, as we say. And he's got some teammates up near him with Skurlock and Trujillo as well.
Yeah, I've seen Trujillo in the practice. Actually, they were all up the top there too. So, Cranky Sports, keep an eye out for those guys. But there's plenty of other guys that are just as hungry as them to try and make something of tonight.
Yeah, that's going to be a very different challenge for them, of course. And of course, Skurlock getting up there for second place. It might not be as easy for him this time, if you can call that easy for the 500. But he has put his car in a good position to take another victory tonight.
Yeah, up the front, it's obviously going to be, hopefully for him, there'll be less carnage and less things he's going to have to try and dodge. But remembering he burnt his tyres up last race in the night, so a bit cooler. So we'll see if he's goes a bit easier on him in the daytime.
Yeah, that's a big thing, of course. We did get a little bit of an idea of how things were going to run with that race, but it was the evening time, so things are going to be a bit different here. We can pretty much guess that fuel mileage will probably be about the same. We'll be looking around about 20-ish laps for the fuel, of course, being that it's a 35-lap race, I think it is tonight. We'll be looking at a one stop for fuel at least.
Yeah, I think Edward possibly, I can't remember now, but ran out of fuel on his slowdown lap. So, yeah, I think, was that race 20 laps? So probably be maximum is going to be 20 laps to 21 laps of fuel.
Yeah, it's going to make things very tight for those guys, and yeah, it's going to really shake things up a bit, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But, just got some nice pictures there, some curb cams, some great shots of those cars, Mitch's cars, got the cranky sports cars there. Just having a little bit of a warm-up before they get into this race tonight, 35 laps around the road course of Daytona.
Yeah, and it's quite a lot of laps to run, of course. Daytona road course it takes a lot longer to get around than the oval, of course, but it's still a very big track, of course, on the inside. With that, well, it is still a very big track, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a big track with 4 turns, and now I think they've added another 10, if my math is correct. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one.
Yes, of course, with that final little chicane at the end, that makes things very, very tricky for some of these guys, because it has changed things quite a lot for this track. It used to be a little bit... That back straight section was a little bit nicer when that chicane wasn't there, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, without the chicane, it's just flat out. But they've never ran the stock cars without a chicane, or for that matter, ever, until last year. But yeah, the chicane's obviously just to slow it down a bit and just add a new dimension to the track as well. So I think it's good. Big curbs, you don't want to touch them. That will unsettle the car massively and cost you time. So you want to try, if you want to use them, you've got to be very limited on how much you can use.
Yeah, you have to be very brave across those final curves as well, because we did see as well a lot of cars launching quite high off of there, and it is easy to make that mistake. It is so easy to make a mistake around this track as well, because it is not the highest grip circuit, of course. These cars, not easy to drive on road courses, of course, but there are a lot more road courses coming up this season.
Yeah, exactly. They definitely do have more road courses this season, but with those higher curbs, the turtle humps, or what do they call them, sleeping policemen, we've seen in the clash, Denny G actually got some damage, because you've got to remember these cars are running real low to the ground, the splitters. So you make some hard contact with them, you get a bit of air, you will do damage to these vehicles. So those guys got to be careful. Yeah,
it's so easy to get the car sky high from those little curves. It is an easy little mistake to make, and it costs you so much time, of course. It really is a very costly thing. And coming into that final corner as well, so easy to brake a bit too late as well.
Yep, big braking zone there. So you're coming in quite quick out of turn, Daytona NASCAR turn 3 and 4 there. So yeah, hard on the brakes.
Yeah, and the big thing about these cars, of course, is it's very easy to lock a brake, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is, and a bit of rear wheel hop as well. But I think we're about to start gridding up, so I'll let you run through that, Carl.
I might get you to start running us through if I can, Dave.
I'll try. I'm just waiting for it to show up on the screen there. So off the front row, we got Neil Pearson, Michael Skurlock. Second row, Edward Foster, Chris Purnell. Third row, Aaron Major, Luke Trujillo, Bradley Wingard, Denny G, Josh Carwell, Hamish Gallagher, Ruben Phelps, and Josh Mickle all round out your top 6 rows there. Then it moves on to Riley Curtis, James Robbie, Lachlan Yu, as I call him, Gary Wellman, Stephen Williams, Brett Douglas back in here tonight, Adam Schultz, Raymond, Sloggett, Martin, Tristan Koch, Nathan Button. Rolling on through to Raymond Yeager, Kate Donnelly, already a winner this year, Adam Roswell, Norman Clark, Barry Neal, Matt Hunter, Greg Spencer, Finlay, Stove Thomas, Paul Jackson, Aaron Dillon. And rolling on to our next page was Greg Spencer, sorry. Oh, sorry, we've already not sent them. So Paul Jackson, Aaron Dillon, Liam Ford, Nigel Patton, Bailey Barnacote, Mirko Dutnak, Scott Griffiths, and Bradley Sheeny coming off the last spot of the grid. Yeah, so 42 cars out there tonight, so a pretty big field out there, of course, and these guys had to get these positions from qualifying as well tonight. A little bit different for the series. We've had a little bit of change in the format because of just the sheer amount of drivers that we've got out there at the moment, which is always fun to have. Neil Pearson leading them away, though, as we get underway for the pace lap, of course, the warm-up lap for this race. You've got to say at the moment, with Pearson's performance last time out, it must be looking pretty good for him. Yeah, definitely. He's got the right spot to start this race off the pole. Look for a bit of carnage down into this turn one as it goes left and it just tightens up and tightens up. So cold tyres, look for a few mistakes here. I reckon there'll be a couple in his first lap.
Yeah, it's one of the big things on this track as well, is it can be very tricky to pass through that first corner because it is just such a tightening corner, and it does sometimes catch you out by surprise. It's also a very tight corner because it's so close together. Pace car has gone in, the Porsche's gone into the pit lane, and we will be going green here for the Daytona road course race, so the ANZCAR Abruzzi Cup.
Yeah, field's a bit spread out there. Half the field's still in that chicane as we go green. Skurlock on the outside of Pearson. I don't think he's going to be too brave, but he does go a bit deeper in there. He's got his teammate who should let him in, I'd say, just behind him. I think that's Purnell in behind him.
Yeah, so Purnell just sitting there just behind him. Foster's working his way up, and he's actually putting a bit of pressure onto Chris Purnell at the moment. So good little move there by Foster. He's trying to work his way up the field.
Lachlan New's been turned at that first right-hander, basically. Yeah, so I was going to say it's been a clean start, but Lockie's just been caught out. He's been turned by, I think might be, Ruben Phelps, I believe. So you see, he's done nothing wrong, and Ruben's just got right into the rear quarters in your replay here. He goes a bit too deep. I think it was Ruben. No, it wasn't Ruben, sorry. I've thrown him under the bus. That looks like Stephen Williams. Is that the 98 or the 9?
Oh, I'm trying to...
Yeah, it was Stephen Williams. So Stephen Williams into the back of Lockie early here. So that's unfortunate. We'll have to gather that back up. No yellows and get on with it.
Yeah, of course, that's the other thing about racing on these road courses. You don't get full course caution. You don't get the...
We've lost Ryan Phelps now. Sorry to cut over you. We just had Ryan Phelps go around coming onto the oval. Like I said, it's going to be... it's all happened on his first lap. A few mistakes and he gets it going and gathered up. But I think he just spun that on his own. I only caught the back end of it, but... Cold tyres in the replay here. He's coming up onto the... Yeah, just cold tyres, half loose, and then he sort of just tried to gather it up after that. But a few mistakes early.
Yeah, easy to do, of course, because cold tyres, cold brakes, of course, early in this race, and that makes it so very tricky. And it's not an easy thing to do with these cars because they don't like to warm up too quickly. It does take a couple of laps just to get them feeling comfortable, and then, of course, you just got to be so careful on the accelerator because you've got such a huge amount of horsepower in these cars as well.
Yeah, a lot of torque, only 4 gears, so there's a fair bit of torque in there in that engine as well. So... Finish of lap 1, we still got Neil Pearson ahead of Skurlock, ahead of Edward Foster's moved up in behind Skurlock there now as well. So, it starts to settle into a bit of the rhythm here as we go to another replay here, simsnap.com replay. And it looks like it might be a bit of trouble for Matt Hunter. He just goes into that chicane. Oh, he's going to get T-boned. Oh, yeah, who was that? I'm not sure who that is. I can't see the number from here. But unfortunate over the curbs there and just straight into the door of Matty Hunter. So a few bad luck stories already in this race as Edward Foster runs a bit deep down to there with Purnell in behind him.
Yeah, that was not easy for Hunter. He got caught out completely there. I've got a feeling it might be one of the Pace Syndicate cars. Sorry, actually, I think it was Aaron Dillon actually. So Aaron Dillon there, he got into Matt Hunter unfortunately, caused himself a bit of damage as well. But it's hard to know where to look on these road courses, of course, because there's so much action going on. There are so many places to look, and especially in a field of 42 cars, it's so easy to miss the little things. Aiden Schultz has had a big one somewhere around the track. I'm just going to try and pick that up because he's missing the whole front end of his car. Just noticed he dropped right off the pace. But I can't really see what's happened to him. But he's had a big moment, unfortunately, for Aiden Schultz, who is coming off a relatively good finish from the Truck Series this week.
Yeah, well, I wonder where he's done that. He could have done it on the curbs even. Like that's how big they are. But what have we got on? We got Bradley Wingard in behind JCW here. Edward looks a bit racy here early on, so we'll see. We'll see if he. Danny G's in there deep. He just sneaks in through there. It's just in front of his teammate, so I reckon Josh Mickham will cut him a bit of slack there. But Edward looks racy, so we'll see if he's going to put an early move on the Skurlock here and then just try to get in the rhythm, or whether Skurlock defends.
Yeah, so we've got Aiden Schultz just on the screen there, and we can see that damage on the car. He's just caught a big moment, and just that whole front end has been taken off there. Gary Wellman as well had a moment through the chicane. Yeah, Aiden Schultz also blowing his engine. So unfortunately out of this race early for Aiden Schultz. A real shame there for him because, as I said, coming off a good week in the trucks. for him and the Activity Hub Bali team as well. So real shame for Aiden Schultz.
Yeah, as I said, the MotoGP commentating team, early doors for Aiden Schultz there, who has improved muchly over the past 12 months. So shame to see him out this early, but I'm sure he will work out what went wrong and come back next week a bit stronger.
Well, that's it sometimes, is you do learn from your mistakes in motorsport, and it's not fun when they happen, and you never, ever want them to happen because you always feel like such an idiot, but you do learn from them, and it does help you just get that little bit better as you go through your career in racing. Good move here. A little fight down in 32nd with Ford and the 05, the 400 and the 05 there.
Yeah, those boys are fighting for sheep stations down there. You got to remember that's for 32nd position. So all the way through this field, these boys are fighting, and you can see the field spread. So you can see the leader actually just on my screen going through NASCAR turn 3, and they're all still back at turn 2 coming out onto the straight. So there's a long gap between cars here, but yeah, as I said, the action's thick and plenty, and it can spread out a bit. But as long as we have a few tight races, as there is a bit of a tight race for the 3rd position, 2nd, 3rd, 4th at the moment.
Yeah, they are nose to tail at the moment as they go through that final chicane. Michael Skurlock being chased down by Foster, being chased down by Purnell as well. Those three are in a real battle for their positions, and you can see that Purnell just trying to get that outside line, trying to force Foster to go into a more defensive position to compromise his turning for that little kink for the S's.
Oh, big moment for Chris there. He got loose coming through that little chicane bit there, and I reckon he was sizing Edward up for possibly a move down the inside, but then just got loose, so he'll have to get that momentum back and eyes forward and then try to get back on the back of Edward there. But he's in Edward Foster's the champ. He's in a sandwich at the moment of the Crank Esports cars.
Yeah, they've come on strong this early on in this season. Nigel Patton has had a moment, just going back to this one with the 90 of Nigel Patton here, just through the chicane. It looked like just too much rear brake, and he's gone over that curb. Big moment there. Yeah,
that's it, and it's easy done, but he'll get away with that one. No harm, no damage, mate, no foul, so he'll continue on and get back into this race.
Of course, these races, they are a fixed setup now. Most of the races are this season, of course. But you can change things like brake bias and a couple of little options on the steering, of course. And how important is that little bit of change of brake bias sometimes for some of these drivers?
At a road course, it's probably a fair bit. There's like a fair bit of difference in what you want, how you want to set the car, whether you run it with a lot of front brake, a lot of rear brake. At an oval track, rear brake helps the car turn. And then front brake obviously pushes through the oval tracks, but here it's more about just how comfortable you are. More front brake means that like you'll pull up quicker, but you can't use as much brake. So more rear brake takes longer to pull up, but it's a lot more balanced. Oh, as we see a green car, I'm not sure who that is, just ran straight through the chicane back there and just snuck through without taking anyone out, thankfully.
Yeah.
I think it was Liam Ford, I believe I'm hearing over the comms.
No,
it certainly wasn't Liam. He's out there, and but yeah, I'm not sure who that might have been. But anyway, Liam's having a moment though of his own. He's gone through the bus stop there, just got a bit squirrely, ran out a bit wide and onto the grass. And once you get there is zero grip. So, but as I said, he's got away with that one. He'll get back on and get back into this race as well.
Yeah, curse of the commentator tonight, Brett. Sorry, Dave. You've been doing some real. Sorry,
I'm going to defend myself here. That was actually a replay, so I'm innocent here.
Go back to what I said. But yeah, a couple of cars we've mentioned, and they've had those moments. It was Gary Wellman with that little bit of an incident the second time through that chicane there. He's running up pretty high at the moment. He's up there in the sort of top 20. He's up there in 15th at the moment. So not a bad run at the moment. Kai Slogger on a bit of a charge. He's managed to make up 7 positions so far this race. Another guy on the move is Bradley Cheney down in 31st place, made up 11 positions that time round. And Mirko Dortnak as well. Mirko Dortnak and Scott Griffith actually down in 26th and 27th. Those guys are working their way through the field too.
Yeah, I was just watching on your screens there. You can see Purnell just range right up onto the back of Foster there, the champ, and he took a lot of curve for this. I don't know if he got to slow down or not, if he didn't, it'll be very close. So it looks like he's still staying with him. So looks like he's a little bit better on the brakes, a little bit more comfortable than Edward at this stage of the race. Edward possibly will be just saving his gear because we know how much that came into play later on in the race in the clash.
Yeah, that's it. The tyre saving is an important skill to have here, and it's a very different kind of tyre saving to oval racing. Of course, when you're racing on a road course, you're putting a lot more pressure through the tyres. Obviously, when you're on a course like the Daytona road course as well, you've got sort of the worst of both scenarios. You've got the road course as Josh Micklemore has a bit of a moment a little bit further down the field, and has now got Bradley Wingard having a big moment for him. So those guys are really battling side by side at the moment, and Danny G's just sitting back there watching this one, because this could be a big moment as they get so close through that turns number 4, as there's a car round behind them.
Yep.
James Robbie going round behind them. So James Robbie having a big spin.
Oh, geez, they're sideways through there. Well done to Bradley Wingard there. He was all crossed up. These boys are putting on a hell of a show here. They've kept it clean and some nice side-by-side racing there, guys.
That was a heck of a pass through that corner there for Wingard. He managed to keep that car just on the knife edge there. Very fast right-hander, of course, that corner. But now he's just struggling getting back onto the oval. The car's getting a little bit twitchy. You know, when you do start sliding the car like that, you do heat the tyres up a bit for the rest of the lap, and sometimes that can cause a bit of trouble.
Yeah, certainly. The tyres will not enjoy that, but it looks very flamboyant and looks good for TV. So for now, we'll take that.
Oh, if you can make it stick, it looks absolutely great. But he has got a fast-charging Josh Micklemore right on his heels at the moment. So those guys are really battling it hard as they go up to the final set of chicanes this time round. And what I was saying before is you sort of have the worst of both worlds, because you've got this oval section where you get a big change of momentum for the tyres.
Sorry to cut over you. Edward's about to pass Skurlock for the second place here. So Skurlock must have a bit of an issue coming out of the last chicane. And Edward's just gone and up the inside and done the job on him, basically. So I'm not sure. We might be able to get a replay and just see what happened to Skurlock there, but definitely must be an error as Edward runs right. So Skurlock's back up the inside of him now. And yeah, Skurlock gets that spot back, and Purnell's going to have a look here. No, Edward defends hard down there. So I didn't catch the replay. I was watching live, but it's all happened at the front now.
Yeah, Skurlock just had a little bit of a mistake going through that final chicane. Was just a bit slow off the corner. Just had to lift off the accelerator a little bit because he put a bit too much gas down. But that almost worked out perfectly for Foster, but he just got himself off, and now he's going to have Chris Purnell up the inside of him. So that's going to be costly now. It's almost like that mistake for Skurlock has cost Foster more than anything.
Yeah, it's very tight here. So Purnell's now up into third. He's got True on the 53 there, and guess what? He's got another Cranky Sport car in the mirror. So we're just going to go to a replay, I think, of the pass on Edward down the inside. So gets a good run out of here and just runs through the sweeper here to the left. And he's a long way back there, so he dives in from a long way back. Edward saw him coming. They get nice and close on the exit here, but nice and clean. Nice clean racing there from those guys. But yeah, all happening right now at the front.
Yeah, really nice clean move there, and nice to see this kind of action going on here at the road course, because sometimes you can have a bit of a processional race. Unfortunately, as I say, these cars can be a bit tricky to get working on the road courses, but when they do, you can get some fantastic action, and we're seeing it right now. We've got another good little battle going on for 7th and 8th at the moment between Joshua Carroll and Hamish Gallagher in the Atari Autosport and the Mitch Motorsport cars. Those two are fighting it out, and looks like Hamish Gallagher's going to go down the inside, take that position. He's braking very late. Is he going to pull it up in time? He just about makes it through the chicane.
Yeah, good move. Good move, Hamish.
Yeah, good move. JCW there just having to ease off a little bit, but he caught the curbs a little bit too. Yeah,
I think Josh made it a lot easier than it. Josh knows he's been around for a while. He doesn't need to fight, so Hamish just got the speed. It's better to concede now and fight later. And I think that's sort of Josh made it nice and easy for him. But Edwards coming back. Oh, Skurlock makes an error. And he's going to have his teammate on his outside coming down through the sweeper here. He's going to get that pass. Edwards going to get up there. He backs out of it though. So look for Edward to try and possibly make a move down the inside in the braking area here, but no. So yeah, Skurlock just got a little bit loose on the exit there and lost a spot to his teammate Purnell.
Yeah, it would have been a brave move from Foster to keep side by side through that sweep section there, because that is a very, very slippery part of the track sometimes. But Foster's looking pretty racy here. He's really putting pressure on Skurlock. And is Skurlock starting to struggle with tyres again? Is this something we've seen? We did see a little bit in the Chaser course, but Skurlock does seem to be struggling a little bit compared to his teammate Chris Parnell there. Now Chris has to start trying to chase down Neil Pearson, who has absolutely run away in the lead. He's currently got a 4-second lead over Chris Parnell.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Chris can make any inroads into that now. As I was about to mention, the guy on the screen, which was Pearson, he's having no trouble at all with tyres. He's just running his own race and getting it done as we go to a simsnap.com replay. As I believe this is Bay Barnacote having a moment down into turn 1 here. He's just going to get her in there. Oh, just locks up clean. He's going to make contact with the tyre wall there. So, yeah, he slid for a long while there. Obviously, just carrying a bit too much speed, but not too much damage by the looks of it. He might be able to repair some of that in the pit, but yeah, he'll continue on.
Yeah, he went in relatively square to the actual to the tyre barrier. Luckily, it was a tyre barrier, not a safer barrier or just concrete itself, because that could have been much more damaging if it wasn't something a little bit more squishy.
Yeah, certainly, and he's still got a nice juicy battle here for third spot. Luke Trahere, the new teammate. Well, it's a new team, I guess, isn't it? So, with the Cranky Esport guys, he's starting to put a bit of pressure on Foster. So. He's the wild card for me. I haven't seen too much of Luke, but he's put on a good show tonight, and yeah, we'll see if he can get the job done on Edward here.
Yeah, Luke, one of the actual proteges of the Virtual Motorsport Mentor program. He has been putting on some good shows, and he has really been fighting up with the top of the drivers this season. We've seen it in the Truck Series as well as the ARCA Series, a developmental series, if you like, of the ANZCAR Championship League that runs on Tuesday night if you are interested in getting some experience in the series. But Trahere doing an absolute great job of trying to chase down series champion Edward Foster right now. Trahere came in strong last season, and he put in some good performances last year, but he is definitely looking like one of the top drivers at the moment. He's doing a brilliant job out there.
Yeah, exactly, and I guess that's the beauty of the little bit side hustle that Chris Purnell runs as Virtual Motorsport Mentor. He can have first dibs on the talent that he's actually mentoring and put him in the team. So that's I guess that's something that you could work on as if you choose to go down that route. There's that opportunity possibly to move up into the team. So those guys are doing a good thing there.
Yeah, developmental drivers. It's not a bad way of getting teammates and getting teams running. You think back to people like Sauber and Jordan and people like that. You know, running some of the early drivers in Formula One. They brought in many drivers and made a good couple of pennies off swapping them. But having a strong teammate is always important. As Michael Skurlock goes wide into the first corner, he's going to get Foster having a good battle here now as they go through the sweeping S's. Foster's going to get a good run into him into that right-hander. It doesn't quite have the... Skurlock's gone wide. He lost the grip, and that's going to give Trahere the pass as well. So Skurlock really looking to be struggling with the rear of that car.
Yeah, certainly. Just went in a bit too hot. I'm not sure if he was under a bit of pressure there, like just trying to keep Edward behind him. But as you can see, I just wanted to see actually if the gap closed between Purnell and Pearson. I'm just going to check the time. So it's 1:57.2 for Pearson and a 1:57.1 for Chris. So about a tenth faster, and he was a tenth faster on the last lap. So slowly making inroads. Just got to not use up all these tyres basically, and just make slow progress and try to catch down Pearson at the front.
Yeah, it's just plugging away at it now, and that's the hard thing. But Pearson's built up a nice gap at the moment, and if Chris can only do sort of a tenth a lap, that's going to be... that gap is suitable enough to sort of keep him in a relatively good place for the rest of this race, or at least till very late in this race. So good job for Pearson having that little bit of a running away a little bit in the beginning of this session.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that battle and just see if he can make any more inroads. The laps will fluctuate, I'd say, but we got Leo Pearson at the front there through last chicane. A little bit sideways, I think, through there. So I don't know if. Oh, I'll tell you what. Trahir's all over the back of Foster. He made a massive ground through that chicane. So I don't know if Foster might have just went in there a bit too deep and had a little mistake mid-turn. But Trahir was right on his bumper, almost hit him, as a matter of fact, through that chicane. So it's not stopping for Foster at the moment.
No, Foster caught the inside curb going through that chicane, and that's really given Trahir the chance to run up on him. So that's going to help him out quite a bit. But Foster's managed to keep the car positioned well and basically just keep him behind him. That defensive driving skill coming into play there.
Yeah, for sure. And as we in-race reporter Mirko Dortnak from the Daytona 500 race, he's back again this week. Mirko, how was it out there?
Oh, unfortunately, bad news this week, Dave. I've just crashed and I exited the race because I thought the blokes behind me were going to hit me, so I didn't want to ruin anyone's race.
Oh, really? I was only watching. I was only watching the minute ago, and you're out there. So that's a bit unfortunate, mate.
It only just happened, mate.
Mate, tell you what, we're going back to a replay now. We're just going to show it. So
yeah, it's pretty embarrassing,
there, mate. Oh, you just locked her up, mate, and had a half spin on the middle of the road there, mate.
Yeah, plowed into the fence, and then I saw some people in my mirror, and I thought I'd better get the hell out of the way. So.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Well, tough luck tonight, mate. I'm sure we'll see you back out here next week.
I hope so, Dave. Yeah, cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Mirko Dortnak there. Thank you so much for jumping up with us and letting us, explaining that little incident there. Unfortunate moment for Mirko there, really. It's so easy to do, though. You know, you look at those little incidents and they can look very, they can almost look very simple and very, you know, almost comical because they're so slow, but these cars can really struggle as they go through those corners. The leaders are starting to catch up to some lap traffic now, so we're getting up to Tristan Koch, I believe. People like sorry, not Tristan Koch, sorry, he's got a new paint scheme this year. Sorry, just having a little look. So people have changed their paint schemes, and that's thrown me out a little bit. Not hard to do, I know. But yeah, the leaders are definitely coming up to some lapped cars now. Coming up to those guys. So just overtaken Nathan Button. Liam Ford is next on the list to be overtaken. So down from 36 onwards at the moment.
Here's having another sniff through here. Just caught on to the back of the 53 of Foster. I'm not sure if he's in a position to make a move yet. If he does, it'll be a deep dive here. So he makes a little bit of ground through that sweeper there. Don't think it's going to be close enough there, so he doesn't. And Edward, I don't think it's being defensive there. I think that's just more the racing line. So, but Trahir's definitely got a little bit of pace here. I think possibly over Edward.
Well, it's saw Trahir just sitting off a little bit at the start of the race. He wasn't pushing the car quite as hard. And Trahir's got a good little run onto the actual oval section right now. Foster's sort of cut a little bit shorter. Trahir just had a little bit of a softer run. Foster's got a little bit better speed off the corner, but Trahir's going to catch up to him quite quickly. And when they come back to the chicanes, I think we're going to see Trahir just coming close once again, because it seems Foster's just struggling a little bit mid-corner. Trahir's just got a little bit better grip at the moment through those.
Yeah, I think the gaps open up at the front as well. I think it was 4.7 before, 3.7 before, so it's either a couple of tenths or a second going out, but yeah, definitely opened up the gap there at the front near Pearson.
Yeah, some of those lapped cars were not, well, they don't have to be helpful, and that's the big thing about this series. There's no blue flags, but just catching lapped cars at different points of the track. Now that gap closing down again, so it's just going up and down just where they catch those lapped cars at the moment, because that can be a big thing to cut you off. If you catch a slower car going through a couple of these corners, it can really cost you a lot of time. That gap has just sort of balanced itself back out for a moment, but yeah, they did. Chris Purnell just caught those cars at the worst possible time, and that has given Neil Pearson a little bit more of a gap.
Yeah, so as we see Brett Douglas making a move on the inside of Stephen Williams, I believe that is on the high line there. Stephen Williams sporting a bit of damage in the rear end of that car, so he's been centre punched at some point, possibly early on. As we jump to Jason Martin, who's working his way on, that'll be Matty Raymond up front, just getting the curb, so that'll slow him down. massively. So
Just jumping back to James Robbie, Brett Douglas and Stephen Williams, because there was a big moment through that corner where Stephen Williams almost went into the back of Brett Douglas, and that gave James Robbie the chance to actually come flying up and get past both of those cars. Brilliant overtake there. They both got a little bit squirrely, and it gave James Robbie the chance to really pounce on them. And Kai Donnelly as well, of course. Great run last time for the young driver, the rookie, and he's coming up pretty good as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, Bradley just had it at the moment, actually, as you can see on your screen, going to turn one here. He just gets a little bit similar to what Mirko did, as a matter of fact, and that was just as James Robbie, because James Robbie's the next on the road to come around behind him here once he gets going here. But, good opportunistic move from James Robbie to pick up those guys at the front there, but Wingard sideways onto the straight here.
Yeah, it does say it's such an easy thing to do in these cars, but you never feel any better knowing that. No matter how many times people tell you, it's easy to make a mistake in these cars, you always feel like a little bit dumb for making those mistakes, don't you?
Yeah, certainly. And I'm wondering on strategies here. I think everybody's going to start to sort of cut this race in half, I'd have to imagine. So we shouldn't be too far away from stops here. I'd say lap 16, 17, we'll see some guys come down pit road.
Yeah, I'm thinking we'll probably see some people thinking about getting in. I'd say about lap 15 would be the earliest anyone will come in. But it's going to be who tries the undercut and who tries the overcut as well, because that can come into play.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So there will be a bit of a gain to be had with the over and undercut here, as Neil's just rounding up a few more of those lap cars down there. Makes it nice and clean. But these lap cars, they can have an effect on the end result depending on how well you get through the pack here, though. But I might just run through the top 10 while we've got not too much going on. So we've got Neil Pearson.
Sorry, just to cut in quickly, Scott Griffith just having a big moment across the tri-wheel section.
As we'll switch to a replay. You can talk us through this one, Carl?
Yeah, so just going through that final chicane, Scott Griffith just coming onto the onto the oval section. There's a car behind him just cutting the corner a little bit. Looks like Scott just lost the rear as he got on the tri-wheel. Just put the pressure down, put the accelerator down too quickly, and it's just taken a big cut across the grass. I was going to actually mention him before because he was running up relatively high, doing a really good job of getting up some good positions. Unfortunately, that's dropped him down a fair few spots.
Yeah, it's just helping out the groundskeeper at Daytona Speedway, doing a bit of lawnmower through the tri-wheel.
A little bit of grass cutting here and there. It always helps out.
Yeah, that's it. But getting back to the top 10, so we got Neil Pearson in first, Purnell second, Foster third, Trahir, Skurlock top 5, and rolling back to Aaron Major, Hamish Gallagher, Josh Carroll-Walden, Josh Milkamore, and Denny G running at your top 10.
Yeah, much better race this time out for Danny G. Seems to be a little bit more comfortable this time round, especially as we saw in the clash. He was just struggling a little bit for pace. He's keeping up there with Josh Milkamore, his teammate, Joshua Carroll-Walden, sort of having a bit of a lonely time. I think Chris Purnell has come in pit lane. Sorry, not Chris Purnell. Somebody's in the pit lane. Yeah,
Purnell's still on track, so could be another Cranky Sports car. I see the three of them still up front. Three of them still, so it might be Brett Douglas if it is one.
I think it was Liam Ford, sorry. Similar paint job. Sorry about that.
Yep, and the black and grey one with the kangaroo on the side. I know the one, the 400, isn't it?
Yep, the Bocam 400 there. Yeah, a little bit similar paint job just caught me out there because they were all coming through the same spot. But first guy to blink, actually, Liam Ford, so lap 14. So he's blinked a little bit early. Will he make it to the end? That's the big question now.
What are we, lap 15? Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's going to be tight.
Yeah.
It's going to be very tight, but he might be able to. I mean, if he's a lap down, depending on where the leaders are, he might get an extra lap out of it that way. But I reckon from anywhere from now, we'll start seeing guys come down pit road.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the pace of Liam Ford. Bradley Wingard as well coming into pit road this time around on lap 15. So this is where we're starting to expect to see some people coming in. So we'll see a few people sort of coming in possibly a few people coming in to try and cover off a few people as well, because that's the other thing is you can lose a lot of time with the undercut, but then the overcut can be quite strong as well. It just depends how much the tyres are plateauing. That's always the big part of racing like this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the easiest strategy here is just cut it straight down the middle. So for me, I'd be coming in as we see Skurlock first to blink of the leaders. He comes in right now. I was going to say lap 16, but he's come now. So he's about to come in for service, get some fuel and fresh 4 tyres, and they'll send him on his way.
Yeah, that's it. And I think Skurlock was the one that was struggling the most out there of those leaders. So he seemed to be really struggling for pace. So coming in now might be a good idea for him. Might give him the opportunity as we see a good little battle. As we see Joshua Carroll-Walden on the 555 of Aaron Major there, just making a good move there for Joshua Carroll-Walden through the S's. He really made that one stick.
Yeah, it was a good move. Good strong move down the inside. Showed the nose. Didn't make it easy for him, but nice and clean from Josh. So good job there from JCW.
Very well done indeed. Just having a bit of a look through the order as well now. That's the thing. It's picking out who's who. You can see Josh Bickmore has come into the pit lane as well, so he's just exiting. He's coming out just behind his teammate Jason Martin. So he's one of those top drivers to pit as well as I think. Sorry, my timing screen just went a bit strange there. No, right.
Just keep an eye on these leaders to see if anyone takes service this time by as well. So Neil Pearson's coming up to come by the entry, see if he comes. It doesn't look like he's shaping to continue on this lap. He's going high on the track, although they do have to go through the chicane. I always forget about that little chicane at the back here. So we'll see if he comes in this time. Remember that Skurlock's come, he will get a little bit of it, and Pearson continues on. Next to go by will be the car of the 920 of Purnell, who looks like he's going to come in, and he does peel left. And Foster follows him, and Trahir stays out for another lap. So those guys are going to probably push on for another lap or two and see if they can't get an overcut or see if it comes back to them towards the end of the race.
Yeah, that's it. Of course, the later you pit, the better your tyres are going to be later on in the race. That's one of the big things. And also a little bit less fuel saving you have to do. They should be able to make it on fuel now pretty easily, but you do start to struggle a little bit, and you do have to sort of think about that as well sometimes. Oh, as we've got an incident, we're jumping back with the SimSnap replay with the 05 of
Brandon Thomas. Coming, oh, geez, he's made a mirror on that one. He's hard into the curbs there, so that may have even caused some damage to that front splitter or under tray of that car. And coming in way too hot there to get it pulled up, and just drew the anchors out, locked them all up as Neil Pearson continues on. Oh no, I'm not sure that's Neil Pearson, but it looked like he continued on there if that was.
He's just coming onto the back straight at the moment, Pearson. So
there was another DPR car I was looking at. So Edward Foster and the 920 of Purnell have taken service, come out pretty much as they were before they went in. They'll go for a helpful leather here for a bit. So that's Skurlock in behind there, Edward. So Purnell will be ahead of Edward there.
Yeah, Purnell getting a little bit of a jump, I think, on Foster. So Foster just taking a little bit longer in. Just coming out just a bit behind Purnell, which to be expected with how they were sitting. Neil Pearson, I think, is still out there. Just having a look-see. Coming up to the final chicane now, so this will be the big coming thing.
This time by, I'd say you do want to stay out there too long, as he's happy to continue on. So he's got a plan in place, so he's going to continue to stick to that. And the 43 of Trahir, who's running second on the road at the moment. We'll see if he peels into the pit lane here, as so he's in for service now. So it'll be interesting to see the re-entry for him, whether he's made any time with these guys in front. If anything, he would have lost a bit of time to the 920, but it should be still pretty even there. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. Hamish Gallagher also coming in as well. Neil Pearson, the only one that's really staying out there.
So we got Foster on screen here. I'll see if I can try find Trahir. So he's still in his box at the moment. He's taking left sides now, so those cars and he's just leaving now. Etc. He's about to exit the pit lane, so easily done for Foster. So he's lost a little bit of time there, but it might come back to him with a bit fresher tyres towards the end of the race.
Now, this is where Neil Pearson could be looking for some trouble because Michael Scarlett just set a lap of a 1:55.7. Neil Pearson was a 1:58.7 that last time around. You can see the power of those fresh tyres coming into effect now. And you're going to start to see people like Chris Purnell just starting to catch down on Pearson. But the longer Pearson stays out, he's going to have those fresh tyres towards the end of the race. And I think that might be his thinking at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. So the re-entry here with the 9:20 of Chris and the 9 of Pearson's going to be pretty good. I'd have to say that Pearson will come down this time, but we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll see how much time Chris has made up on Pearson here.
Yeah, as he's coming round the back section of the oval circuit again, coming into that final chicane. Will he pit this time round on lap 18, of course? So 18 to go. So he'll be splitting it right down the middle if he stops here, which is not a bad time to do it. It's not a bad place to stop, and it looks like he is coming in this time round. Neil Pearson pitting.
And Chris is using all the curbs there. He's being very aggressive. He knows what in-laps and out-laps can mean, so he's on it hard here to try and make up as much ground because he might get the track position. Neil Pearson will take a lap or two to get up to speed. He'll have the tyres on his side, but it's one thing catching Chris and one thing passing him. As Chris makes a little mistake there by the looks of it, but he takes a wider line, so looks like it was more deliberate than anything else.
Yeah, of course. The big trouble for Chris Purnell right now is just getting those tyres up to temperature. You've got to push hard.
Pearson's just dropped these on his box now, so Chris has gone by, so he has definitely made a gain there. So it's going to be close on the exit between Foster here. Neil Pearson's going to make that tight exit. You'll see him in your picture to the left here on exit with Foster. There he is. And it's going to be very tight here on the exit. He's got a lap car in front of him as well. He can't go out too early across that blend line. He just stays out ahead of Foster, but bear in mind that Pearson will be on the cold tyres, so Foster might put some pressure on him for this lap.
Yeah, and Chris Purnell just saving the fastest lap for the time when he needed it. He just set a 1:54.3 that time round, fastest lap of the race. So Chris Purnell really pulled the pin out on that one. And
outlaps mean a lot, especially around the pit stop shuffle.
Yeah, really good drive from Purnell there. He really
Sorry, I just got a bit excited. I was looking up ahead there. There's Bradley Sheeney's just come on ahead of the leader off the track. I don't know which way he was coming from, but I just saw another car coming at another car, and it just made me got my attention here. You watch Bradley just runs down. He must just run too deep and turns around. He comes at the back at a bad angle, but it might have been the angle that I was watching from. But yeah, just got my heart rate up a bit there for Chris.
Yeah, you don't want to see a car rejoining the track next to you like that sometimes, especially when you're the leader. It left a nice bit of room there, wasn't too close to him, but it still does bring the old heart rate up, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely, especially the angle I was looking at from. Looked a lot closer than that, but they move on, and Cheney loses a lap there.
Yeah, as we jump back to Hamish Gallagher and Joshua Carroll-Walden, those two are back battling now. Hamish Gallagher's got some good speed on this time round as they come into the chicane. Joshua Carroll-Walden's going to try and position the car to keep him behind him, but you can just see Gallagher's just got a bit of a better turn off the corner. He just gets a bit of pace. Big moment for JCW there. He just loses the tail a little bit, but that means that Gallagher just had to lift off of it too, but he's going to get better pace down this part of the straight. And this is a dangerous place to pass. This little bit of chicane, JCW, I think, is going to just pull out of this. He's not going to fight too hard for that position just because this last chicane can be very, very dangerous to fight in. So he's just made a decision to rather than lose the car completely, just to back off a little bit, regain composure, and then get back onto the fight. Yeah,
definitely. He just fought with what he had there and put up a little bit of a fight just because that's what you've got to do out here. You don't want to just roll over and let everyone by. Fought as much as he thought safe enough to, and Hamish Gallagher gets the job done on the 35 there.
Yeah, good move there from Hamish. Really coming up again. Good moves between these guys. Great to see as we see Raymond Yeager.
Bit of contact, between Yeager and Matty Raymond there. Maybe I'm not sure if they made contact, but it was very close.
Yeah, it was so very close, and not at the point where you want that to happen. As well as you're coming back onto the oval section, very easy to spin a car on those points, as we saw before.
As Barry Neal has was he having a moment here? We're just watching the replay. So we jumped. Yeah, we might have missed it. It's all right. But yeah, you saw on live there that it was just a bit closer, a bit of a squirrel off the 23 and the 83 there. So nice lively battle down the field.
Yeah, battles all over the place at the moment. Barry Neal coming into the pit lane. I think he stayed out a little bit longer than a few of the other drivers. So he's going to try. He's going to really try the overcut at the moment. As Neil Pearson just getting a little bit locked up as they come in there. I think I saw just behind as he was getting past the 162 as he's chasing down Chris Purnell right now. But at the moment, Chris is setting good pace, but now Neil Pearson is starting to match him and make it a little bit better.
Yeah, that last lap by Chris was a 156.1 and Pearson was a 154.7. So lap traffic will have a lot to do with that, the disparity there. But yeah, just bear in mind that Chris stopped 2 laps before the 9 car of Pearson.
Yeah, that's it. To give you an idea about the time Pearson lost in those pit stops, he had around about 9-10 second gap over Edward Foster. He's only got a 4-second gap now, so you can see the sort of time he lost out. Michael Skurlock's jumped Luke Trahir as well, so Michael Skurlock's sort of chasing down Foster once again, and he was the first of those guys to pit, so he's going to have a little bit older tyres. They're going to be a little bit more worn, a little bit more ratty as the race goes on, and of course that can come to bite you as it goes longer in this race.
Yes, certainly. We just saw Jason Martin down there having a bit of a quieter one tonight. As a move in front of him, as the boys get looser in the 40 car with Gary Wellman on the outside, and we've got Brett Douglas in there for company as well. So quiet night for the 21, but he knows that he's not the fastest here, so he just consistently and he'll just cruise around and score points and just bank it for the night.
Yeah, he's Jason's been working a lot on his road course experience and working to improve himself on road courses, and he definitely has. But everybody else is not sitting still, unfortunately, and that's the problem you have. Is when you think you've got yourself better, when you think you've managed to improve yourself, everybody around you is also working just as hard, and they can come back stronger as well. Yeah,
for sure. And Jason's no slouch. I've raced him in other categories as well, and different cars, he is just as fast on the road. So it's just more of a preference, I guess, for him. But we've got the 9 car starting to catch up to the 920 of Purnell at the front here. So I'd say possibly in the next lap or 2 he's going to be on behind him, and we know what Chris is like. He's an aggressive driver, and he'll put up one hell of a fight here to try and hang on to this lead.
Yeah, I think Chris's only chance is to keep Neil Pearson behind him, because you've seen how much the pace Pearson's had tonight. He's just been able to absolutely keep that car going and really doing a great job of setting some good consistent laps, and he's also keeping good pace on the car despite having slightly dodgier tyres than some of the cars around him. But of course, Chris Purnell, no slouch, he has got the speed underneath him when he needs to. He could just be letting him reel him in a little bit here, just not pushing the car too much, and he's just trying to save the car a little bit. So it's going to be a good battle here for those two. Meanwhile, Edward Foster, he's managing to slowly, he's sort of keeping pace with the leaders at the moment. He's not dropping off too much, as we say. He's sort of keeping a relatively similar pace to the front pair. He's not dropped off too much, but he's not able to catch on Chris Purnell and Neil Pearson as much as he'd be wanting to, I'm sure. Yeah, so
Neil's just starting to range up onto the back of the 920 here. Remembering that Pearson actually got to second place in the clash. He started 12th, so tonight he didn't have to go through a whole field of cars. He started from the point, and he's looking to get back to the point right now. So he just ranges up a little bit closer to Chris here. So I think it's going to be on for young and old through this infield section through this next lap.
Yeah, he's really getting close now, isn't he? He's right on the tail of Chris Purnell for this lap, and I think this is going to be the lap where Neil Pearson starts looking for those moves. He's going to brake a little bit later as they come into the first corner, just try and offset Chris Purnell, just try and make him take a little bit more of a defensive line as they come through the S's, and as they come down to the big stop here on turn, I think it's turn 4 technically. Oh, beautiful move by Pearson.
Easy caught Chris by surprise. I was wondering if Chris would go defensive. Purnell didn't, and Pearson's out of nowhere has just taken a hard right turn and caught him by surprise and snuck one up the inside there. So Pearson gets on the 920 of Purnell. So we're just going to go for a replay as you see. So just coming in here, Chris, I thought he might just defend a little bit, but he stuck to his normal racing line, and the 9 started to follow him, and then right late here, just dive straight to the inside. Chris probably didn't see it coming, and the 9 gets the job done fairly easy there, and nice and clean, by the way, too. So, yeah, Chris will try and hang on to him, but I'm not sure the 920 is going to have enough just to stay with him at the moment, those tyres.
He really threw the dummy there, and just threw the dummy going into that corner, making Chris think he's going to stay behind him and just wait for the exit maybe. But Neil Pearson just so much more confident under those brakes. He just braked so much later. What a brilliant move there, and that was a fantastic move for the lead.
Yeah, it's actually amazing the actual difference of 2-lap old tyres can make. So you wouldn't think it'd be that much of a difference. Take nothing away from Neil Pearson's speed, but yeah, there's a fair bit of disparity there, and that's just in tyres. And we've just got the 550 of Tristan Cock on screen here, just having a little bit of a moment. Just looked like he started to lose the rear end going into that turn, and yeah, it just never came back. It's hard. It's nice and bumpy through there, and the rear end just disconnected from the road.
Yeah. The other thing about that sort of section is there's quite a lot of marbles that start to build up there, being a heavy braking zone. Also coming back onto the oval, of course, it's a little bit slippery, and it is, as I say, it's such a tricky track to drive. As Neil Pearson just had a bit of a moment going through turn number 1. Not much of a moment, but enough to make my voice raise there. Just a little bit of a rear stepping out. But Josh Mickelmore is currently leading a good pack of drivers. He has got Hamish Gallagher, Joshua Carroll-Walden behind him, and those 3 are looking pretty racy at the moment.
Yeah, certainly are. You've got those two. There's 2 Mitch cars there. I think that's Hamish Gallagher behind, isn't it? So Mitch Carr's line astern there, with Mickelmore leading the charge for those boys tonight in 6th position. So just jump back to Kai Sloggett, sitting in the 11th position there, in behind. Who's that? I think.
Aaron Major.
That's him. I knew the name there, Major. So he's just right in behind Major there. So those guys have got a bit of a battle going on there as well.
Yeah, Kai Sloggett having a relatively good run tonight. A little bit of damage to that car. It looks like it's a little bit battered, but he's making his way up the field. He's made 10, 11 places this race so far. So he's been battling his way up the field, and it's not an easy thing to do sometimes. Speed is one thing. Oh, as just behind Kai Sloggett, one of the cars that was somebody just had a big moment there, but they managed to catch it. It's fair. But yeah, Greg Spencer just having a huge moment as he went through the sweeper, just losing that little bit of grip on the inside. He's just got onto the grass and managed to keep it pointing straight, which is an impressive thing to do because it would have been so easy to spin that car.
Yeah, and actually, just a bit of an issue there. I think that the stewards will have a look at Spencer's car there, as last week he was DQ'd from the Daytona 500 for not displaying a number, and looks like he might have the same issue this week. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. But I'm just watching the 920. He's using up them rear tyres now. He was sideways through the bus stop onto the back straight there. So nothing to lose now. He's thinking he's just going to throw everything at it, but. I know we've got a few Kai Sloggett fans out there, so they know who they are. He's doing a good job tonight.
Lachlan Urquio coming up the field as well. He's managed to get his way back up to 18th position. Considering that
early spin, yeah, that's right, Carl. Yep, sorry.
It's been a bit of a thing this year for Lockie, having a bit of a spin mid race and then working his way back up the pack. He did it last time out and he's doing it again, but a much harder place to do it on, the road circuit. So really good job from Lachlan there, showing a good turn of speed and really showing his just his improvement over the year, because I have to remember his first season was last year and he's really coming along as the teammates of Mitch Motorsport, Josh Mickelmore and Hamish Gallagher are side by side. Hamish Gallagher goes down the inside and makes the move. And we're jumping back to Raymond Yeager right now, as he comes into the tight left-hander going back onto the oval, and it looks like that car's gone around. It's just done the pendulum on him, similar to Tristan Koch, that one.
Yeah, that was more on the exit, so he's given a bit more throttle, bit of jandle on the exit there, and just bagged up the rears, and that's all she wrote. But just watching Chris, he's not letting Pearson get away too far in front of him here, as you can see on your screen now. So he hasn't driven off like I thought he might. So Chris is still trying to put up a fight here. He will be using everything he's got up here, but yeah, I thought Pearson would drive off a bit more than he has.
Yeah, meanwhile, Foster's sort of he's trying his best to get up there. He's keeping a relatively good pace, but he's falling a little bit off the pace of the leader. But he's not letting Purnell get away, and more importantly, he's keeping a good gap between himself and Michael Skurlock there in third place for Foster.
Yeah, so a big lurcher that I think is Trahir. So remember, he stopped later than the two guys in front of him, not as late as Barry. Barry, not as late as Neil Pearson. But yeah, he sort of just dropped back to fifth there and hasn't made too many inroads since then.
Yeah, that's it. He did lose that little bit of position, and it's not paid off as much for him as I'm sure he was hoping. He was hoping to have a little bit more pace from those other guys, similar to Neil Pearson, of course, stopping that a little bit later, but not quite worked out as well for him.
Sloggett looks like he might be shaping up to make a move on the 24 of NEG here. Is that for position? It certainly is. So that'll be for 10th if he can get that done for the Kai Sloggett fans at home. In the Licky Molly Chevrolet. Looks a bit speedy. Looks like his size and energy up for possibly a move down here. He's got. Yeah, he looked a bit closer from that camera angle, but yeah, I'm sure he'll keep working away at the 24.
Yeah, a little bit of damage on both of those cars. Just a couple of bumps and a couple of little bumps on those vehicles. They're not looking in showroom condition, but they're keeping some good pace at the moment. But Kai Sloggett is really on a charge at the moment, and if he can get in that top 10, I think he'll be pretty happy with that one. He started way back in 21st position, of course, so getting up into the top 10 from there is no easy feat. Just behind him, Riley Curtis, who's trying to chase him down, but not quite got the pace at the moment. Another driver that's doing a good job as well. Where was I in my little list of things? Oh, they've dropped off. Won't mention that then. But yeah, up the front, it's still battle on, as Chris Purnell was only 1.6 seconds off of Neil Pearson. They are still catching cars at some awkward spots and losing a little bit of time here and there, and the battle is sort of coming to Chris sometimes and then going away from him. It's not always working out.
Yeah, no, that's the beauty of these races.
Just as Chris Purnell is just getting past one of the other DPR cars there, just locked up. I think it was Stephen Williams there. He was just battling away, and he just locked up a little bit there, but managed to keep out of the way there. No harm, no foul. All good.
Yeah, it just looks like at the critical point, Williams just pinched the rear brakes there, and all good news for Chris because it just moved him out the road and didn't have to pass him. So that gap's pretty steady at the front there between the 9 and the 920. As I'm not sure if Edwards made any more ground. He is. What's he sitting? His lap time was a 1:58.1 versus Purnell, which is doing in the 1:57 still. So, yeah, I think the charge from Edward might have just sort of stalled out there a bit there with 9 laps to go here.
Yeah, he's keeping a good gap though from Michael Skurlock, so I think he's trying to just protect that P3 at the moment. Trying to protect that third place, which is a good position to finish in, strong points position, and that's what he's going to want to do now. As we've seen from Foster in the past, he can just plug away, and just consistent finishes is one of his strongest traits. And obviously with a bit of an unlucky just up at the front again, and they caught a lap car going through the first corner. Neil Pearson just looking like he got a little bit loose at the rear there for a second. It's just allowed Chris Purnell to just gain a little bit of time. But yeah, Foster having that bad time at the 500. He's going to want to try and get some good points on the board, try and get a good finish this time out, so he can get at least his points on the board and get his season started properly.
Yeah, look, the 920 is not going away here. This time by, they albeit a lot of traffic, but he's got the gap to under a second at the moment. So the pressure is still on Pearson here. So it's about trying to thread the needle through this traffic, and it could play a big part coming towards the end of this race.
All it takes is one missed braking opportunity and it can be over for your race for Pearson. It's so easy to have happen. One mistake and that's it, as we see Chris Parnell just getting a little bit sideways coming onto the oval section there. Just lost a little bit of time coming onto that fast part of the track as well. Not the best place to have a little mistake creeping in. Luke Trahir dropped off the pace a fair bit, actually. He's almost 8 seconds off his leader. 8 seconds off Michael Skurlock. So Trahir just struggling a little bit in the latter stages of this race.
Yeah, certainly. I was just checking. The 920 gets a bit squirrely me off the bus stop there. But Trahir, he's still got another, about 17 seconds to the car behind him. So he can probably just cruise for now and just consolidate and get that top 5 finish.
Yeah, which is no mean feat as well. It's getting top 5s is a hard thing to do in the series, and when you've got such talented racers around you, a top 5 finish is a huge achievement.
Yeah, certainly. As Neil Pearson just stretches that lead again, so it went from a second out to 2 seconds. So, it's all to do with traffic at the moment, but as I said, it can still play a part late in this race.
The race is not over until that checkered flag has fallen, and they are basically finished. So you can't say anything until they have crossed that line. We found that out last time out at Daytona, of course. But anything can happen, and usually in motorsport it will happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just looking through the field. I think Kai Sloggett's probably our biggest mover. And Cade Donnelly, got to give out a shout out to Cade. He's come from 26 on the grid. He's up in 15th at the moment. So Cade, a winner at Daytona last weekend in the Duel, I believe it was, doing a good job here tonight and making his way forward in 15th position at the moment.
Yeah, a new rising star in the series and come in with a lot of pace, opened a lot of people's eyes there. He's just behind Brett Douglas at the moment. From a commentator for the ANZCAR series. So nice to see Brett Douglas back out on track as well. Good to see him back in series racing.
Yeah, definitely good to see Brett back out there. But I don't think Cade's done yet. I think he's still looking to go forward, and he might make a few more positions before this one's out.
Yeah, we'll see how this one finishes up. Same with Kai Sloggett as well. You can't count him out. I think he's really trying to get that top 10 finish. You got a relatively close pack as well with Kai Sloggett, Danny G, Aaron Major as well. They're all relatively close together. JCW, Joshua Carroll-Walden's got a little bit of pace away from them. Josh Micklemore's a little bit of a sort of almost a lonely position between himself and Hamish Gallagher. They've all got a nice little bit of a gap. Not too much, but they've got enough gap to make a little mistake if the worst case happens, not fall back too far. But they've still got to be careful because they're running quite close.
Yeah, I think the closest battle on track was that on your screen just a minute ago with Devon Stove and Tristan Koch. But even still, there's still a bit of a gap there. But as we just run through the field here, so we've still got Pearson at the front first, Purnell second, Foster third, Skurlock fourth. Trahir locked down that top 5, and then you got Gallagher, Micklemore, JCW, Aaron Major, and Danny G still riding at that top 10 with Kai Sloggett in 11th there, having a good run tonight.
Yeah, and actually I mentioned for Devon Stove as well, coming really nicely up the grid. Started 33rd and running 19th at the moment, so good run for Devon there.
That'll be our biggest mover at the moment then, Devon Stove, so good job. And still on the lead lap. He will be the next one to go a lap down though. But yeah, still at this point on the lead lap and biggest mover of the field.
Yeah, Foster just getting caught up a little bit in traffic there, and that's given Michael Skurlock a chance to get a little bit closer. That has got much closer. We've also got the action between Danny G and Kai Sloggett as well. Those two side by side for a couple of
Sloggett trying to get into that top 10, and that'll be a good night for Kai if he can make that top 10. That'll be a well-deserved top 10 for sure.
Yeah, really pushing on this track and doing a good job just to get the way up the field. But Danny G in front of him, another series veteran, and a person that's not going to crack under pressure is going to give you a hard race and not make it easy for you to pass.
No, certainly not. It's a fairly old head on the shoulders of Denny G. He knows where to put the car, so won't make it easy, but you can race him hard and clean though.
Yeah, that's it. And they are getting very, very close right now. Kai Slogan is really putting the pressure on at the moment, really turning the screws. As up a little bit further, Skylock is still slightly catching on Foster at the moment. Those two are starting to get closer. It's hard to know where to look at the moment because there's some good battles all across the track.
Yeah, certainly. As we worked our way down to 5 laps to go on this one, before we end the week at Daytona, basically.
Yeah, that's it. It's going to be the end of Daytona for the well, technically it's the end of Daytona. It's been a long one. We had the Speed Week, of course, the 500, the Duel, the Chase, and finally the road course race. There's a lot of action here at Daytona, but it is such a great place to be.
Yeah, always sunny in Florida, so it's been the weather's been good, the weather's been kind, no rain delays here.
Yeah, we've got to be thankful for that, haven't we? Although you can just imagine the carnage of these cars out on rain tyres.
Yeah, well, they do, and they do now. So you saw in the clash in real life, you see them actually have the windscreen wipers on the car. They didn't have to use them, but they were there. So they do have rain tyres now for the Cup cars.
Yeah,
but in real life they do.
It's going to be an interesting feat. As Danny G just getting a little bit loose as they go through that tight right-hander off the pitched exit there, but manages to keep Kai Sloggett behind him. But how long will that last? Meanwhile, Foster has managed to pull a little bit of a gap over Skurlock, but not by much. There's a lapped car between them, and that's going to help Foster out a little bit here as they come through the bus stop. If that lapped car stays in that position, it's going to make Foster smile a little bit. And I think they've got another car coming up to them now. So Paul Jackson, I think, just getting up out the way of Foster right now. But will he be in Skurlock's way? I think he will be for the...
Oh, God, Sloggett, sorry, just got over there. He had a massive moment coming onto the straight there. He had a big tank slapper, and somehow I didn't actually get it into the wall there. I don't know if you can get a replay of that, but yeah, that was a big moment for Kai. Now he's just dropped a fair bit of time back to Danny G in the 24th. On this replay, just on the transition coming back onto the circuit, he gets a big tank slapper happen.
We'll see if that one can get up. But yeah, really good save there. Managed to keep that one going, and that car has definitely seen some better days. As I think we may have lost picture, I think, on the broadcast, but we'll keep you informed via our talking, of course, as Neil Pearson is still leading. He gets a little bit squirrely through mid-corner there, which is just going to allow Chris Purnell to get a little bit closer to him, as they do have a lapped car between them, but that gap is still under 2 seconds. It's only 1.6 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of traffic here for the 408 and 24 of Denny G. So that battle stretched out. I'll tell you what, the 408 of Sloggett might... he made a lot of time there, so slowed the 24 of Denny G down a lot. And yeah, there's plenty of traffic. Oh, actually, the 408's going to get up beside him here now. They're going to, on the infield, he's going to get that pass now. So Sloggett's just made that little pass. A lot of traffic in there, as you can see on your TV now. But Sloggett moves up into the P10 now and gets that top 10.
Sloggett just made that work perfectly. Really, really good there for Sloggett, and just using that traffic to his advantage. Danny G just getting a little bit boxed in there as they went through that corner. He just didn't have enough to run off for the side on. He had to just put the brakes on a little bit hard, and that slowed him down. It gave Kai Sloggett the ability just to get that run up to the sweeper and just get that move made.
Yeah, definitely. So Danny G just a little bit loose, possibly. Those tyres getting nice and worn now. So Kai Sloggett's got his target, and yeah, top 10 finish tonight would be a great result for him.
Yeah, he's going to be really trying to push that car on, and he's got Aaron Major in front of him now, so he's going to try his best to catch up to him. Actually, he's got Joshua Carroll-Walden. Joshua Carroll-Walden getting passed by Aaron Major, so yeah.
Joshua down, but yeah.
Yeah, Joshua Carroll-Walden just losing a spot on that lap as well, so it's really shaking out there. But got to also look at the front as well. Foster and Skurlock really having a battle right now as they get some lap cars coming into play.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the 350 of Michael Skurlock can close up and just put a bit more pressure on the 53 here towards the closing laps of this race.
Yeah, really applying the screws at the moment. So we've got 3 laps to go. Neil Pearson has managed to pull a bit of a gap at the front. He's got a 2.6 second lead at the moment. So Pearson's actually managed to pull out the biggest lead he's had since those pit stops. But Foster is really, really having to battle with Skurlock at the moment. Yeah,
and just go through the cars that have actually left out of this race, gone behind the wall. Looks like we lost Aaron Dillon and Eddie Barnacote, Mirko Dutnak, and Bradley Wingard.
Yeah, unfortunately, cars to fall early there. I think also Aiden Schultz as well. Aiden Schultz in that one as well, unfortunately. We saw early out for him. But yeah, you've got to say Neil Pearson doing an absolutely great drive out the front, really putting a bit of a masterclass on this track. Seems to really work well for him. And has managed to eke out that gap from Chris Purnell as well, sitting in a good spot at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was good to see the strategy play out the way it did. Give Chris as a car goes off, a lap car goes off in front of, which is Lachlan goes off in front of Neil Pearson. But there's a pass like Kyle Sloggett's onto the back of the 35 here, as you can see TV. But good little bit of strategy, got Purnell into the race, but just couldn't go with him. So. As we go to the action of the 408 on Josh Carroll on the 35 for Atari Autosports.
Yeah, good run so far from JCW tonight in the Atari Autosports team, new team to the series as well. But Kai Sloggett looks to have that little bit of extra speed at the moment. He's really going to put pressure onto JCW under brakes right now. Will they be able to hold it through this bus stop? One little bite of the curb could be it for both of them. And you've got Danny G closing up on them again. Danny G has not given up on that P10 position yet.
No, certainly not. So this battle will wage on for the remainder of these 2 laps. So they just took the 2 to go as they went through. As you can see, Pearson's already onto the oval section. So he's got about a lap and a half to go after the bus stop. Yeah,
it's getting towards the end of this race. Of course, these cars are going to start feeling a little bit rough out there as well. Those tyres are going to start to be falling away on them, becoming nothing more than canvas. If that, you really start to struggle out there.
Up on the exit there. It's got a little bit alley on the exit of the bus stop there for the number 9.
And it's so easy to do. The race, as we say, it's not over yet. He's still got a long way to go, and it's still a big, long track to get around, of course. It's a 3.56 mile track, and that's a lot of track to get across without making a mistake. And at this stage of the race, of course, you start getting a little bit tired. Your car's starting to get a little bit worse for wears. It is very easy to make that fatal mistake at that last moment.
That's right, as our leaders to take the white flag. One more lap to run here at the Daytona road course.
Yeah, Neil Pearson coming through that final corner for the final time tonight, and seems to be holding that gap nice now. He's got a 2.4 second lead over Chris Purnell. Meanwhile, Foster and Skurlock there. He's managed to keep Skurlock at bay, but Skurlock's had a good recovery drive. It looked like he was struggling earlier on in the race, but he's managed to get the car back into some form and has put some pressure onto Foster as well.
Yeah, I'm just going back to see how the battle between Kai Sloggett and JCW is going. They're still at it. Danny G's just dropped off that a bit behind them as Kai ranges right up onto the back of the 35. Now Nelly actually touches it. Quite some curves.
He really used those curbs that time round. Curb hopping there completely, but that's cost him a bit of time for sure, because he really had a position on JCW, but that cost him a lot of time. He's going to try and brake late. He knows this is his final chance to do it. He brakes very late, almost loses the rear of the car going through that final corner, but manages to keep it under control somehow.
But it's all Neil Pearson out front. The number 9 DPR Simregs.com Chevrolet Camaro. He's had it all his own way. He's led most of the laps tonight from start, got the pole, and has led it from there. A little bit of a challenge from the 920 early on, midway through the race, but since then he's never looked back.
No, from pole to finish, he has led this race. So good job from Neil Pearson. Just this final chicane to go. Those final few curbs. Try not to make a mistake. Try not to bite those curbs too hard. Get back onto the oval and cross the line to take the victory here at the Daytona road course. Neil Pearson takes the win for the DPR team. Great job from Neil Pearson. Chris Purnell comes across in second. Edward Foster will be following them shortly. He comes through the final chicane for the last time, just in front of Skurlock, and is going to get that third place with Skurlock in fourth place. Luke Trahir is going to follow them up in fifth. Meanwhile, Hamish Gallagher, Josh Micklemore will be in sixth and seventh. Eyes go back a little bit to Kai Sloggett, who's got Danny G on his tail at the moment. Kai Sloggett lost a lot of time when he bit those curbs. How's he going to do, though? Will Danny G be able to make a move down the final chicane as they come through for the final time? Doesn't look like he's close enough. Looks like Kai Sloggett has secured that P10 position. Just those final corners to go, and it's a P10 for him. Joshua Carroll-Walton just making his way through as well in P9. Great job for him. Aaron Major in P8, with Josh Micklemore finishing 7th. And he makes it through and crosses the line. Kai Sloggett gets the P10 place, 21 to P10. Good recovery drive from Kai Sloggett there. 11 places gained in that race. Biggest gainer through the race was Scott Griffiths back in 26th. Managed to make 15 positions in the race. So not a bad result for Scott Griffiths.
Yeah, so that's a good job there. And being the road course, the field's still spread out, so we've only had 11 across the line, so we've still got a few more to come across. But those battles are, I think, well and truly done. Those boys are just going to cross the line and take those positions. But all credit to the number 9 car of Neil Pearson tonight. He held it by with 2 hands and never let it go.
No, he really just had that pace tonight, and we saw he had that speed at the chase, and he carried it over, starting from pole position. He didn't end up with the fastest lap. Chris Purnell snatched that one away from him, so he didn't get every little tick in the box. But brilliant job from Neil Pearson. Brilliant drive as well. Brilliant performance for those drivers as well, giving us some good, clean racing out on the track, which is what we love to see in this series.
Yeah, definitely. And Neil Pearson was going to be hard to beat tonight, but I'll let you run through the finishing order.
Yeah, so finishing order is Neil Pearson in first with Chris Purnell second, Foster third with Skurlock fourth, fifth for Luke Trahir, Hamish Gallagher in sixth, seventh Josh Micklemore with Aaron Major in eighth, Joshua Carroll-Walton ninth with Kai Sloggett in 10th, 11th Danny G with Riley Curtis in 12th, 13th James Robbie with Kay Donnell in 14th, 15th Gary Wellman at Brett Douglas in 16th, 17th Jason Martin with Lachlan Urquio in 18th, 19th Devon Stove with Norman Clark in 20th, 21st for Matthew Raymond, 22nd for Stephen Williams, Ruben Phelps finished 23rd, 24th was Raymond Yeager, 25th was Christopher Finley, Scott Griffiths 26th, the big gainer of the race, starting 41st, finishing 26th, Adam Roselle 27th, Barry Neal in 28th, 29th was Nathan Button with Matt Hunter in 30th. 31st was Bradley Cheney with Kristen Koch in 32nd. 33rd was Paul Jackson with Braden Thomas, 34th. 35th for Liam Ford and Greg Spence in 36th. Final runner of the night. And Nigel Patton, Aidan Schultz, Bradley Wingard, Bailey Braincott, Mirko Dornack and Aaron Dillon did not make the finish, unfortunately, ending up behind the wall for the race.
That's a list and a half, isn't it? Nice big fields here, early days in the ANZCAR 2021 Cup Series.
Absolutely, and if you did catch us at the start, we had to we've opened the field up a little bit for the qualifying of the series, so a few more cars can qualify for the races, but they've got to qualify within the top 43 cars, I think it is, and to get into the race, because there are limited boxes at these tracks sometime. So what we'll do is we'll grab our P3 man down third, Mr. Edward Foster, if we can. So Edward Foster for the JP Simshed team. Congratulations on that podium finish for third place.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, relatively good race out there for you tonight. Looked pretty hard. You had some serious pressure towards the end from Michael Skurlock. Looks like Neil Pearson and Chris Purnell just had a little bit more pace at the front, but you sort of kept them honest all race long.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were just a little bit nice to their tyres, but Yeah, had a nice little battle with those guys at the start of the race in the first half anyway, switching positions a lot. It was kind of me and the 3 crank cars that we had up the front. Neil had a little bit of a gap there at the front. So, yeah, enjoyed that. Probably used up my rubber a bit more than I should have, but I was having a real good time. And, then after the pit stops, it sort of spread out a little bit. We kind of fell into that natural order, I suppose. But, those two are sort of road course guys that run those all the time. So to be the first oval guy home, I'll take that.
Yeah, I was about to say, road course has not been going too bad for you this year. Of course, started off the year with the Chase getting the win in that, of course. But P3 here tonight, you must be pretty happy with getting on the podium.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's no podiums in NASCAR. It's just victory lane and the rest of us stand in pit lane. But yeah, I mean, the goal for tonight was really to try and get a nice, strong points finish, to try and get myself back into the top 20. So I'm locked in to the qualifying from now on. That was a kind of a thing going into this one that I couldn't afford to make any mistakes in qualifying. So I really couldn't afford to lay it all on the line, because if I made a mistake, got a 1X or whatever, I wouldn't set a time, and I wasn't guaranteed to be in the field after Daytona. So it was really a case of just trying to get a nice haul of points and do what needed to be done at this time of the season. I mean, I didn't need to go out there and chase a win tonight. I would have taken it if it kind of presented itself, but I didn't need to go out and do that. I just needed to get that good haul of points, put myself in the top 20, lock myself into the field for next week. And putting a season together is all about doing what you need to do at the time you need to do it. So I'm very happy.
Yeah, for damage control situations, getting fourth on the starting grid, of course, and getting third in the race is not a bad way to get the damage control situation started. And, of course, getting yourself on the points championship board is always a nice feeling. Good to have you back, and good to have a third position for you. Nice to have you up in the booth. Before we let you go, of course, anything you'd like to give a shout-out to tonight?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, Neil, first of all, for the win. He was the fastest car there all night. And, Chris and Skurlock and Trahere, we just had a really good battle out there, and it was good fun. And shouts out to most of the lapped cars there as well. They made life easy when they could have made it very, very difficult. And, of course, the sponsors, Goodyear and Sabtool on the Camaro, great to have them there. And, that's just about it. Apart from you to put on the broadcast, it's, just about it. It's a wrap.
Not a problem. Thank you so much, Edward Foster, for the JP Simshed team. We will hopefully see you in the box again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we will grab Chris Purnell for the Crank Esport team. Seems to be a regular occasion now, having you guys up in the box.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy, to be honest with you. I was after Daytona 500 the other day. I put in a bit of legwork with this one to make sure I was up to speed for it.
And up to speed you were. You put in some great efforts there and managed to just finish just under 2 seconds off Neil Pearson there towards the end. But looked like a hard thing to do, keeping on to Neil Pearson, because he seemed to have some good pace out there tonight.
Yeah, he definitely had pace. I probably lost a little bit too much at the start, being stuck behind Skirley and Edward. And to be honest with you, I was a little bit nervous. It's been a while since I've done a road course race with these boys, so I didn't want to go and arca break it in turn one and ruin everybody's race. So I sort of was a little bit patient to begin with, and then let the race sort of come to me. But he had solid pace. He was consistent all night. Like you can't take away from him his first win. So congratulations to him, obviously, and to Edward for finishing third as well. Yeah,
you've got to say, not a bad night for the team as well. In the top 5 finishes, there were 3 of your cars. So again, strong performance tonight for you guys.
We probably are more predominantly based on road, to be honest. We do spend quite a bit of time on the oval, but yeah, we're probably stronger as road drivers. So I think that will be a showing of things to come, especially when we go to some of the harder tracks later in the calendar, when we go to Coda, Road America, those sort of places. I think it'll be very interesting racing.
Yeah, of course, a lot more road courses on the series this year, so that must be something you're looking forward to.
I'm not going to lie, it's I circled probably the most races I had a chance to win this year. So yeah, it's going to be a good year, I think.
Hopefully so. And look, you started out strong, win at the 500 for your team and yourself in P2 tonight, putting on a great show for us as well. Before we let you go, Chris, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, so obviously you guys up in the broadcast booth, you put on a fantastic broadcast every week. The admin at ANZCAR, they do an awesome job. This has probably been the biggest season I've been involved with, and yeah, I think it's only going to show and get better and better as the year goes on. Obviously, the boys in Crank Esports, they've been busting behind the scenes to get some work done, so it's been really good. And iRace Designs, killer liveries. If you're in the market, go and chat them guys. They'll do a good job for you. And I don't like self promotion, but VMM, obviously, Virtual Motorsport Mentor. If you need any help coaching wise or driver training, there's a heap of stuff we're doing now. Looking forward to launching some new products going forward in the next few months as well.
Yeah, of course, a good advertisement for the product. Of course, is Luke here as well. One of the members under the Virtual Motorsport mentorship, isn't he?
So I've been working with Luke for the last 6 months now. So, and he's come on leaps and bounds from when we started working together. So it's it shows in his result tonight and how he's just tracking in everything he attempts to drive now.
Absolutely. Congratulations on that finish, Chris. Congratulations for the team as well. And I hope we'll see you up in the box again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Chris Purnell there for the Crank Esports team. Next up, we have Neil Pearson for the DPR car. Coming up to the booth for the first time in ANZCAR series for the Cup for the victory, I think.
Yeah, first victory. But I've been in the booth, I think, in Darlington last year. I finished second.
Yeah.
And, I was in here last week, so...
That's it. It's that's what I wanted to, we've had you in the booth a couple of times, but this is the first time we've had you when you've had the win, and what a dominant win that was.
Yeah, it was good. I like the track and car combo. It's just so good to drive, so...
Yeah, you seem to really like this track. You put on a really strong performance in the chase, of course, coming from last to second. But obviously, getting that qualifying position, was that a big help for you tonight?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you saw in the that race last week, like having where I started, I really had to move the car and I fried the tires up a little bit. Whereas today, I just cruised and just really looked after the rears and tried to do what I could. And then Purnell and Foster pitted so early. Like I was going to run the tank dry, but I just knew that if I went 2 laps longer and if I went another lap, it would have just been so much. Like, as it was, I think I was already 5 seconds behind coming out of the pits. So,
no, absolutely brilliant job tonight, Neil. And as I say, like that pole up as well was must have felt a bit good as well. It was only yourself and Michael Skurlock actually in the 52s at the end of that one, but you were the 52.5, of course, getting the pole position. Very special lap from you there, and we saw from the race as well, you pulling out some great laps as well. Do you feel stopping a little bit later? Of course, you just had a little bit of help with the overcut.
yeah, I mean, I wanted to run to lap 20 originally, but as I said, I just couldn't do that because the gap would have been too big. But yeah, like I was just really good at looking after the tires. Like even when I got past Purnell, I just didn't push at all. I just kept it about 2 seconds and just let it there. I mean, he did up his pace compared to the first stint, so I wasn't like just really slow. I was pushing a little bit, but I was just make sure you just keep the tires underneath it, and she'll just love you for the whole stint.
And it's actually something I wanted to talk about as well, that pass on Purnell. What a beautiful pass that was.
Yeah, well, I was so happy with that. I'm not going to lie. Like, he just, he started going right, and then he, like, slowly eased it back to the left. And I'm like, oh, I'll just see what I can do. And, yeah, managed to hit the apex, hug it, and then, yeah, I was so happy.
As much as it looked good in the car, it came across just as good on the broadcast, I can assure you that one. Beautiful move there, and congratulations on the first ANZCAR Cup victory for yourself.
Thank you very much.
Of course, before we let you go, the usual thing of who would you like to give a shout out to tonight, Neil?
Well, as my sponsors, they keep us going every week. So we've got simrigs.com, the best race simulators you can get out there. Southwell Lifts and Hoists, Ben Max Mechanical, BetSmart Racing Services, and NP Designs. And just my teammates, they're really supportive and with everything I do. And like we all, a great bunch of guys there. So really happy to be in that team.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen DPR having some good finishes, good results last season, and you're coming in strong this year as well. We saw in the 500, of course, you guys running up towards the front a lot of that race, working well together, and of course, getting this victory tonight. It's a perfect way to start off your season, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to do something decent tonight because I was a bit unpleased with how the 500 finished for me. I don't think it was a fair move what happened, but it is what it is. And yeah, I'm happy to come out and get this win to make up for it a bit.
No, congratulations. And of course, having a look at with yourself, of course, having a few more road courses on the series this year, do you feel a bit more confident with the road courses as well as the ovals this season? Are you feeling like you've got a good chance to get into the chase positions this season? How are you feeling for that sort of aspect?
Unfortunately, it all.
That's not a good end to his. Not a good. Not
Sorry,
just lost him there.
See if we can get Neil back there for a second, hopefully. See if we can get him back.
Am I back? Am I back?
You're back, you're back.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, about making the chase. If I can get off work early every Thursday, I'll be here every week. If not, there'll be a few races skipped. And once daylight saving ends, I'll probably come back and run as hard as I can and see what I can do.
We will keep our fingers crossed that the work gods work out well for you, because we'd love to see you back for the full season, Neil. Thank you so much, and congratulations on that victory. Well-deserved win.
Thanks, guys. It was good fun.
Neil Pearson there for the DPR car. What a brilliant victory, Dave.
Yeah, it certainly was a commanding win, and led it from start to finish pretty well. And as I said, he was always going to be hard to beat starting from that front row. But that'll conclude our 5-race streak at Daytona. So, but we do stay in Florida, though, as we move to Homestead for 130 laps around the old wherever we used to finish the chase, but not anymore. It's the third round of the series in Miami down there.
Yeah, absolutely. A very different track as well, Homestead, of course. Not a super speedway, not a road course. It's a very different track, a very different design as well, and can be a tricky one to run on, as we saw in the trucks we saw a good race in the trucks on Monday night, but it is a tricky track to run on for sure.
Yeah, certainly, but it's one of my favourites, so looking forward to call the race next week.
Yeah, and we look forward to you all joining us as well. As ever, thank you so much to all of our sponsors. Big thank you as well to JP for all his hard work behind the scenes. And a big thank you to all the viewers. Big thanks as well to Dave Douglas as well. Join us back in the booth, and we'll have him up here for a few more races this season, which will be great. And we will be catching you for Homestead on the 25th, next Thursday for that one. Until then, we wish you all a good night and see you then. Bye-bye.